Hello everyone. Now, and today I'm going to be defending Code. I don't like Code that much as a villain or as a character. I think his narrative is alright, but in terms of aura, he just doesn't have that much for me. Due to the fact that he is pretty much a jobber and loses a lot of the time, and rarely takes any W's. But I often feel like the L's that he takes in comparison to the W's are a bit over exaggerated by the fandom and non-fandom alike, and they kind of overestimate how much his L's are worth and how much he does or how little he does for the story itself. So today I'll just be going over the many L's that he takes and also what he actually does for the story and accomplishes. With that being said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and enjoy. Now firstly, let's get into what Code is supposed to be. Now, Code is not supposed to be your kawaki, he's not supposed to be your jigen, he's not supposed to be your isshiki, right? Those are the big guys who walk around, they're very powerful, they bully everyone around them, they have this super deep narrative, and they're very cool, they have the aura of gods, whatever. Just like Madara, just like Obito, just like Pain. He is not supposed to be that. Now, of course, that is a very popular character archetype, and that's pretty much the reason why people love Naruto villains and I guess Kawaki and Isshiki alike, is because of their aura and narrative. Since Code is lacking a bit of both, I can understand why people dislike him. Now Code, as far as we've seen right now, is someone who is more or less banking on how he has the Ten Tails army and what the mysteries of what mixing his power and blood and claw marks with the Ten Tails army is going to mean for the future of Boruto on the planet. Boruto basically hinted at this by saying that, oh, the Claw Grime are going to overtake you and they're going to become something more than just Claw Grime, and they're going to become very detrimental to the Earth themselves. Code, of course, does not heed this warning because he's a big-headed guy, he's very overconfident, he thinks he has it all under control. So that is the purpose of his power. Although he was hyped above Jigen levels of strength, these are people who are far surpassing that of Jigen in strength, so that doesn't really matter at this point in the story. And nor did it matter at all when Code was really introduced within the story. People have this odd misconception that Code was hyped up to always be the strongest in the verse and the apex of everyone within the verse, when that's just not true. Even when Code was hyped up to be above Jigen and Jigen only, we already knew Ida and Damon were above him, because Ida is stated on another level of the cyborgs who are already above Jigen, and she states that Damon is one of the only people who can kill her. That, along with her omnipotence showing and Damon just outright beating up Code, already showed us that he was not the strongest in the verse. I think that sort of amplifies people's hate for Code is because they're going in with the misinterpretation that he is the strongest person within the verse and supposed to be the big bad. I always, and still to this day, will say Kawaki is the main villain of Boruto, and while this is, I guess, the Code arc or the arc where Code is going to do things, of course, I think his purpose lies within the Ten Tails and whatever he's going to do with that, and also his Claw Grime. Also, more evidence for Kawaki being the actual villain of Boruto, we see it in the flash forward, and I think Code is just going to have this arc where he's useful in, and the Claw Grimes and Ten Tails are going to overshadow him. Yes, he's mixing his power with these, but that's because, yes, he's an important piece of the puzzle, but he is not to be, at least alone, the most important piece of the puzzle. It is him along with the Ten Tails, along with the Claw Grime, along with whatever knowledge Boruto has about the future of the planet. Now that we got that out the way, let's actually go over the supposed L's that he takes. Now the first L that Code takes is when he's going to get Ida, because he needs to ally in order to get his limiters off. And once he opens her pod, Bug says that she's not one to be overtaken with force alone. He, of course, being the big-headed, proud guy that he is, he tries to overtake Ida by force. He instantly begins to get captivated by Ida and thus cannot harm her at all. That is the first L that people bring up. Now again, why this L doesn't really matter that much is because we already went into this knowing that Ida was stronger than him. We already knew that she had this broken ability as well. So those, both used in conjunction, even if you don't want to say, oh, without this broken ability, doesn't matter. She stated on another level than Code prior to her even doing all of this. And even if she wasn't, she's just stated to be one of the cyborgs who greatly surpassed Jigen as well. So there's no reason going into this thinking that Code is the strongest of the cyborgs, or that Code would just walk the floor with all of these cyborgs. Just no reason at all, especially with him being limited. The next thing comes in the fight that happens next after a few dialogue chapters in which he basically comes into contact with Kawaki. Now this is a Kawaki who does not have his karma, he does not really have anything, and he confronts Code and is basically like, okay, don't do anything to the village or Naruto, and you know, I'll basically do what you want. Because Code needs Kawaki for Ida to help him relieve himself of his limited state. So after beating up Kawaki and catching him while in base, Boruto comes in and saves the day, fights Code, unlocks True Essence, and they're scaling to each other. People call this a L, even though just by definition it's not a L on Code's part. It's because he is relative to True Essence Boruto. They're like, oh, he's supposed to be stronger than Jigen, why is he relative to the little kid? Well, he's in his limited state, and he was also holding back versus True Essence Boruto. True Essence Boruto was holding back to his defense as well, but that doesn't defeat Code also holding back. This fight also gets interrupted prematurely because Boruto just has a heart attack. He starts to have a heart attack, starts spazzing out on the ground, and Momoshiki comes out, takes control, and it turns into Borushiki versus Code. Borushiki, on the other hand, does just destroy Code. He kicks him in his face, spams massive Rasengan, and shoots the new Rasengan through Code's shoulder while he's trying to teleport away with Kawaki. Now people are gonna say, okay, this is yet another L. Borushiki just absolutely obliterated Code. Code had no way at all to get away from him. Well, that's half true. Because Code, even though he took the Rasengan to the shoulder and got kicked in the face, he was dodging massive Rasengans. He didn't take that much damage from the kick. And even though the Rasengan penetrated, he was still up and moving, not showing any signs of fatigue. So this is showing to his endurance while he's still in his limited state. So yes, at least so far, Code has the endurance of a god and just shrugs it off. But yet again, none of these are W's taken by Code. They're just kind of minimizing the L's he's taken, not completely disregarding them or getting rid of them. Basically, directly preceding this is Code versus Kawaki with his newly awakened karma, or Kawashiki. Now, while Kawashiki just did battle with Borushiki and he's a bit fatigued, he still nonetheless has his dojutsu, has his fresh karma, and doesn't have that much battle damage. Code, on the other hand, has fought 3 people. He's tried to take control of the Hokage and Shikamaru, and he's been blasted through the shoulder. Even with all of this, he still can somehow not get defeated by this newly awakened Kawaki, and ultimately win the fight by again using his resources such as Daemon and one-shotting Kawaki or making Kawaki one-shot himself. This is still playing into the narrative and plot points of Code pushing the narrative forward without really getting a single W. Code kind of settles down for a bit after this, and you know, he lets all of his L's just take in, and he lets it simmer, and he's just chilling. Couple chapters fast forward, he attacks the Leaf Village basically again, because when Ida comes in, Code uses one of his claw marks to also come within the room and try to attack Shikamaru, Delta, and basically everyone in the room. This new Delta bot kicks Code one time, draws blood from him, and that's it. This one is undefendable. The only thing I can possibly say for this L is that he was still weakened because he had on limiters and he was also in base. Other than that, there's really nothing else to say about this. It's basically just one kick, one interaction, then he's out of there. Amato's grabbed and he's gone. Now once Code relieves himself of his limiters, he then states the famous quote, he feels like he couldn't lose to anyone, he's unbeatable, and then does the very opposite. He loses to Daemon right there. I mean, he gets utterly destroyed. Daemon even goes out of his way to not use his main ability just to beat the absolute dog poo out of Code. Code has no chance at all. It's the difference is night and day between those two in power. And you might be asking, well, how do you defend this from Troy? Again, we already knew he was going to lose to Daemon. It was stated that Daemon and Ida are on another level than the cyborgs who are already surpassing Jigen. They also have Shibai cells that greatly enhance them and give them very broken hacks. So yes, even though Code made that BS statement and hyped up his power to be the apex, it was never hyped up by anyone but himself. The most people said was he was above Jigen, and the most people said is that he was below Ida and Damon. So him fighting Ida and Damon while being stated below Ida and Damon, he would be below Ida and Damon. Fast forward 3 years. Code comes back, attacks the village with a bunch of claw grime, and pulls up on Sarada and basically tells everyone that he made Boruto run for 2 or so years straight because Boruto was weaker than Code at that point, which is common knowledge. So that's a bit of an off-screen W. But then we see Boruto, 3 years, training Sasuke's sword, has drip, very cool, crazy aura, comes in and demands Code to stop attacking the village, get rid of all the claw grime, or he will kill him. Of course, Code talks his stuff back. Code is claiming that Boruto's bluffing, that Boruto's a one-trick wonder, that he can defeat Boruto at any time. And Boruto walks up with the utmost calm demeanor and bullies him. This is ignoring Boruto completely blitzing and stepping on his face in chapter 1. He bullies him. Code grabs his hand, gets the Rasengan Uzuhiko. Boruto Rasengans him in the stomach. Code is dizzy, falling, basically drunk. Boruto's blitzing all around him. It's not even a fight, it's just an embarrassment. Nothing about this was fair. And all of this is happening while Code has karma and Boruto is holding back in base. This is by far the greatest L that Code has taken. Now, of course, we don't know how strong Boruto is. Code's probably gotten stronger too as he's recovered all the chakra he lost in Tails. But the fact that Boruto was able to do all this doesn't speak to Code being a fraud. It speaks to how powerful Boruto has become. And this L is again undefendable. Boruto just outright destroys him. That pretty much sums up all of the L's he's taken and why he's taking these L's. Now, again, this video didn't serve to disconnect him from all these L's and call him a W magnet or minimize the fact that he has almost no aura. This is just explaining that while people are correct, they are exaggerating a lot. Code takes around the same amount of L's as a lot of antagonists within Boruto, Naruto, even fan favorites like JJK. It mostly comes from the fact that the way he's taking these L's is just not as flashy and, aura filled as the way that other villains take L's, which is perfectly fine. You don't have to like them, but at least be honest when critiquing a character. Now, before the end of the video, I just want to fastly go over the minor W's he's taken. I mean, he's beaten a bunch of guards that were guarding Ida and Damon's pods. He's embarrassed Kawaki. He's embarrassed Shikamaru. He's basically stated to be able to kill Naruto when Naruto was in Sage mode. And he did make Boruto run for like 2 years. And this is more around the theories, but if Sasuke truly is dead, then Code was the one to kill him. So those are just a few W's he's taken, not nearly as good or great as the L's that he's taken. With that being said, I would hope that people stop exaggerating the amount of L's and how bad the L's that Code has taken, because it forces me to have to defend the guy when I just don't want to. Now, last but not least, in the future of Boruto, I would like to think that Code will absorb the Jubi and all of his claw grimes and become some type of 6-pass Jubi Jinchuriki above Jigen level of power, something we've never before seen. Maybe at that time he can then threaten Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada, and everyone within the village, but for right now, he's just a jobber, and he's not at all top 2, top 3, or top 4 in the verse. Maybe he's top 5, maybe not. We don't know. With that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.